Hello everyone and welcome to another video by Centipede Geek. I've been trying to make some more wrestling videos recently. In this video, I'll be talking about NXT 2.0. It'll be the episode that aired on October 5th of this year. If you don't know, I always watch a lot of wrestling, so I'm always a week or two behind sometimes because I'm just watching so much content and I'm trying to stay caught up. And in the world of wrestling, it's almost impossible sometimes. With all the other horror films and everything else I'm watching as far as media goes. But anyways, let's dig right into this review of this episode. What do I think they're doing with certain characters? We started off our deal, according to my sources here on 411mania.com. Started off with a match between Ember Moon and Mandy Rose. Overall, this is a solid match. I like what they're doing a lot with Mandy Rose. It was one of those things where she wasn't being used in the best way on the... I don't like calling it the main roster. People still refer to SmackDown and Raw as the main roster. I don't like saying that because I feel like NXT is on the same level as those, and a lot of times NXT is better than what airs on Raw or SmackDown. But long story short, Mandy Rose had a pretty decent tag team with Dana Brooke. I didn't mind them tag teaming at all. She was being used every now and then, and they were pretty close to having, the belts, in my opinion, at one time and being in sort of the tag team title picture, but they never gave them those titles. Instead, they've put Mandy Rose back on NXT, and I like the way they're using her. This Toxic Attraction tag team is built its way up with I believe Gigi Dolan and JC Jane. Forgive me if I pronounced those names wrong or if I said the wrong names. I certainly didn't mean to. I like the Toxic Attraction, like I said. I think they're building a pretty cool team here with Mandy Rose, and I'm going to go ahead and make a bold prediction and say that Mandy Rose is their next women's NXT champion. In my opinion, she'll most likely be the one to take the title off Raquel Gonzalez. Raquel has had a great title reign, but I think they're pushing Mandy Rose to take this title off her, and if that's the case, if I'm not mistaken, this will be Mandy Rose's first title. They never gave... I don't think the women's tag team titles, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think they existed back when Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville were a tag team. And if they did, they never gave them the titles. The women's tag team titles of WWE are still a pretty new and fresh thing. They've only been around for a couple of years. Ember Moon, I like what they're doing with her. I feel like Ember Moon could deserve a little bit more of a push. I remember when she came back, it was a really big deal when she returned to NXT. She tag teamed with Shotzi Blackheart, got the tag team titles, and now I'm curious to see her get another big push. I like Ember Moon a lot, so I would like to see Ember Moon just get a little bit bigger of a push if I had to be honest. Then we have LA Knight and Odyssey Jones. Odyssey Jones, I think he's a great talent. I think he could go a lot of places in WWE. So I think the same thing about LA Knight. LA Knight is one of those ones that he could be at the top of this company, I think, anytime he wanted to. The guy's great on the mic. He's great in the ring. I have been a little kind of curious about the pushing of him recently. He's lost a couple of big matches, and I don't really understand the reasoning for him. He lost against Braun Breaker, and to me, that's fine, but to me, these people are so new and fresh that it was crazy that a guy like LA Knight lost some of these new upcoming talents. So, like I said, the booking of LA Knight's been a little weird recently, I think, but overall, another great match between LA Knight and Odyssey Jones. Here we have another match. Joe Gacy, and forgive me if I pronounced his name wrong. I'm just going to call him Jiro or Gyro, but his first name's Ikemen or something like that. Not big on the character of Joe Gacy. Not very big on it. Some people like it, some people don't. I don't mind the message behind it, the inclusivity, the peace and love and tranquility. You don't mind all that. Him being humble, two winners in the ring, whatever, This is a wrestling ring. I feel anytime he starts to talk, I feel like somebody like Tommaso Ciampa ought to go in there and just shut the guy up because the wrestling ring, in my opinion, is definitely not a safe space, right? It's what he keeps calling it, though. But my problem, I guess, let me go on a little rant here for a second. My problem with the Joe Gacy character is that I don't understand, I guess, his motive. His gimmick doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Um, he just talks about inclusivity and acceptance, but he's not really talk about, he's not really, and his character is kind of vague in a sense, and real vague in a way. He's not talking about exactly what he's accepting or what he's trying to include. So I don't really understand, I don't understand his character. His character doesn't really make any sense at all to me. So, I'm not completely sold on Joe Gacy. That's just me at least. Uh, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Gyro, he's the one with the jacket, right? That has all the faces on his jacket. The Japanese wrestler, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think this guy's a great talent. He could definitely go a long way in the company. I would definitely like to see him get a bigger push. I would definitely pick him over Joe Gacy, because Joe Gacy seems like a decent wrestler, but the gimmick doesn't really do much for me, I guess. We got Cora Jade and Frankie Monet as the next match. I like Frankie Monet a lot. I liked her run a lot in Impact Wrestling. If you didn't know, she was one of the, I believe at the time, she was the longest reigning women's champion over there at Impact. And I've liked the way she's been used. I'm not big on the Robert Stone brand and her being teamed with Robert Stone, because I'm not big on Robert Stone at all. I'm not really big on his character or his brand, or whatever you want to call it. Cora Jade, she's from the Game Changer Wrestling. Now, this is another wrestler that I don't think you want to sleep on someone like her. I think you can make a lot out of her. I think the same thing about Trey Baxter, her boyfriend. You definitely don't want to sleep on these two people. I've seen a lot of his stuff at GCW, Game Changer Wrestling on YouTube, and some of the pay-per-views he's been in. My wife's seen him down in Indiana, so you definitely don't want to sleep on both Cora Jade and Trey Baxter. These are two young, upcoming talents. They don't need to be in squash matches, in my opinion. I'll leave it at that. Got Cameron Grimes and Pete Dunne. I like Cameron Grimes a lot. This is another guy that I think could go a long way in the company. Pete Dunne just signed another couple of year contract, if I'm not mistaken. This is another guy that is probably one of the best in the NXT business, or maybe best in the wrestling business at all. And another guy that had, longest, at one time, was the longest reigning NXT UK champion. Obviously Walter, because of COVID, obviously dethroned that. I like the way Grimes is being used. Wouldn't hurt, I think, to give him a little bit more of a seriousness to his role. But overall, he's a real fun character. Pete Dunne, always great in a heel role. I would like to see Pete Dunne have a little bit more of a push. Maybe even get a title eventually. They've grouped him with, some tag teams recently. Danny Burch, and now he's grouped up, with I forget the guy's name. That's going to SmackDown. So it's going to be interesting to see where he goes. Ridge Holland, that's the guy's name, Ridge Holland. And Ridge Holland's going to SmackDown. That'll be interesting, right? We had Malik Blade versus Tony D'Angelo, and we don't know much about Malik Blade besides the fact that this was mainly just a squash time for Tony D'Angelo, the Italian wrestler, to come in there, or the sort of mafia mobster gimmick that he has. Decent wrestler. Can't say too much about him right now. Don't have much of an opinion, because I felt like it was a pretty decent match. According to this guy on 411 Mania, he loved every bit of it. I can't say I loved it or hated it. I was very in the middle, I guess you could say. I'm curious. The crowd, he was real over with the crowd, I'll say. The crowd loved him a lot. I need to see more of Tony before I can give an opinion. That's how I feel. So I'll just leave it at that. We have Indy Hartwell and Mei Ying as the next deal. Indy Hartwell's another one that she's a former tag team champion. I'm really curious to see where she's going to go in the business. She had the great tag team title run with Candice LeRae, Gargano's wife. Mei Ying, I'm curious to see where she's going to go as well. So this is a really cool match. Indy Hartwell, another one you don't want to sleep on someone like Indy Hartwell. I like her elbow drop finisher that she does. Mei Ying, I like the character a lot, and as far as a wrestler, need to see more, I guess, as a wrestler. But as far as the character, the spitting the fog out and stuff like that, I love the way the character's been portrayed. Our last match was a really cool match. It was an NXT Tag Team Match with MSK, Brooks Jensen, and Josh Briggs. Tag team, Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams, and then obviously GYZ, or better known as the Grizzled Young Veterans. This is a tag team title match. Really cool tag team title match. I was little, I guess you could say, a little disappointed on it was a tag team elimination match, so each tag team got eliminated as they went on, and I really thought it was going to be between MSK and Grizzled Young Veterans, but it ended up being between MSK and Brooks Jensen and Josh Briggs there at the end. I don't mind this I'm not really sold on them yet, this sort of Southern Country Boys tag team, in my opinion. If you're familiar with Deaners from Impact Wrestling, of course, I like the Deaners tag team a lot. This is like Deaners 2.0, and it's just not as good in my opinion. The chemistry's not really there for me yet between the two, but they seem like solid wrestlers, a lot of slams and clotheslines and punches and stuff like that. I was expecting it to be MSK and Grizzled Young Veterans because these are the ones that have put the Grizzled Young Veterans that put the hard work and time in. They're former NXT UK champions, so I expected them to be at the forefront, but they ended up getting eliminated. So I thought that was just kind of an odd placement for them to get eliminated so fast, and for it to be Brooks Jensen and Josh Briggs, I was like, we know MSK is going to win now. A lot of people have turned on MSK. They get booed a lot of time. I don't really understand why everyone's booing them because they have zero heat behind them story-wise. They haven't done anything in the wrestling picture for people to boo them. Anytime they go up against Elgato Fantasma, they seem to boo them and cheer Santos Escobar in the game. There's nothing wrong with booing in that sense. I just don't understand the reasoning of why everyone's booing MSK. They're these young, upcoming talents. They're NXT champions. They come from Impact Wrestling, and I really like the way they've been used. So I like MSK a lot. That's just me. They're great talents. They have a lot of high-flying maneuvers like a lot of tag teams do nowadays. So I will say, a little confused on the booing and stuff like that. I think I've talked about that in videos before. Grizzled Young Veterans, I like them a lot. Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams and a young up-and-coming tag team. I think they could have they could go a long ways in the business. Like I said, Brooks Jensen and Josh Briggs, not really sold on them as a tag team. Grizzled Young Veterans, wouldn't mind seeing them get a bit more of a push. I've always liked their promos, and if you've watched their promos, then get the soon as he kind of stutters and has maybe I don't think he has a lisp, but it's almost like he has like a stutter whenever he does that. Not to knock on the guy or anything, but I always get a kick out of the Grizzled Young Veterans. A great tag team in my opinion, and a very underrated tag team also. But once again, thanks for watching another video by Centipede Geek from an NXT review of October 5th episode. These episodes will always be probably a week or so behind. Pretty solid episode. I like the way they're using some characters. I don't like the way they're using some characters. But I think that's the way it always is in wrestling, right? Not to be too much of a mark. I'm still not sold on the whole NXT 2.0 thing. I like NXT, but let's just quit calling it 2.0. Let's just call it NXT, right? We don't need a rebrand, right? Anyways, thanks for watching. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe below.